Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to my channel before we dive in. Welcome to Revenge with Lyra. What do you do when the very people who raised you decide your only worth is servitude? That question has been echoing in my mind ever since the night my parents trapped me in the kitchen. The harsh fluorescent bulb flickered above us, buzzing like a fly caught under glass. My mother leaned against the counter, arms folded, a smug curl at her lips. My father stood by the fridge, blocking the exit like a guard dog. You either move out or start helping your sister with the baby, Mom said, her voice flat. Otherwise, the rent's going up. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. The pasta was already cold, but I forced myself to chew and swallow. So those are my choices? Pay you more or be your unpaid babysitter? Dad didn't blink. Exactly. Family comes first. You should be grateful we're even giving you an option. Grateful. That single word landed harder than any rent increase. Grateful to be unpaid help in exchange for a roof. Grateful to raise a child who wasn't mine while working 2 jobs. I laughed, a sharp, ugly sound that cut the air like glass. You know what? I am grateful. Because now I see exactly what I'm worth to you. Mom's smile flickered. Dad scowled. My sister, watching from the doorway with her baby on her hip, gave a tiny triumphant shrug, as if she'd already won. I pushed back from the table, excused myself, and walked down the hall as though I were only tired and heading to bed. My steps were steady, deliberate. Inside, the storm was already breaking. That night, I didn't sleep. I packed. Every shirt, every book, every memory I refused to leave behind went into bags and boxes. The only sounds were the scrape of hangers, the zip of duffels, and my heartbeat thudding in my ears. At dawn, while the baby cried in the other room, I carried my things to the car, load after load, until the trunk and back seat overflowed. The morning air bit at my skin as I stood by the driver's door and whispered, "This is it. No more chains disguised as family." Then I drove away without looking back. They thought I'd bend. They thought I'd stay trapped. But disappearing was only my first move. Their downfall would come, and I wouldn't even have to lift a finger. The first 24 hours after I left, my phone stayed silent. No calls, no texts, nothing. That emptiness stung, but it also told me exactly where I ranked in their world. Expendable. By the second day, the silence cracked. Ding. A message from Mom. Where are you? Your sister's exhausted. The baby needs help. Come back. I stared at the screen from my new apartment, a tiny studio with peeling wallpaper, a dripping faucet, and just enough space for a bed and a desk. But it was mine. Every squeaky floorboard, every stain on the wall belonged to me. I didn't reply. By day 3, the calls began. Dad first, his voicemail full of thunder. You think you can just walk out? Rent's due. If you're not here to pay it, don't bother showing your face again. I deleted it halfway through. The calls kept coming. Mom swung between guilt and rage. My sister sent sarcastic messages. Hope you're enjoying your freedom. Baby kept me up all night. Thanks for nothing. That one made me laugh bitterly. I had given them everything. My paycheck, my time, my patience. And still it wasn't enough. Meanwhile, their world started unraveling without me. My cousin messaged me privately. Your mom's been looking for babysitters. Nobody wants the job. She doesn't want to pay. Of course she didn't. Why would she when she'd had me for free? I scrolled through the photos my cousin sent. My sister at the grocery store, dark circles under her eyes. Dad, at a community meeting, railing about lazy young people who don't know responsibility. I sat cross-legged on the floor of my studio, eating instant noodles, and felt something I hadn't in years, peace. Their chaos wasn't mine anymore. Their exhaustion, their bills, their endless demands, no longer my burden. And yet, I knew this was just the beginning. Families like mine don't crumble quietly. They collapse loudly, dragging everyone down with them. So I waited. Each unread message, each ignored call was another domino stacked. And when they toppled, it wouldn't be because of me. It would be their own greed crushing them. By the second week, the tone of their messages shifted. The anger vanished. The superiority gone. In its place, panic. Mom's texts started filling my phone at odd hours. Your sister can't handle this alone. You're being cruel. Rent is due. You've always helped with bills. How can you abandon us? If family means nothing to you, don't bother calling yourself my daughter. Each message was a dagger wrapped in desperation. Dad stuck to his usual tactics, voicemails dripping with authority, as if he could still bark me back into obedience. This is your responsibility. Family sacrifices for each other. You're acting selfish, running away. Selfish. I whispered the word to myself as I folded laundry on the creaky chair in my studio. Was it selfish to want freedom? To live without being used as unpaid labor? If so, maybe selfish was the best thing I'd ever been. Meanwhile, their collapse rippled outward. My aunt posted on Facebook about how sad it is when parents get no respect from their kids. The comments beneath told me everything. People were whispering. People knew. My cousin sent screenshots, and I nearly choked laughing when someone replied, "Respect goes both ways." Then came the call that sealed their fate. It was my grandfather, the only voice that could silence my father at family gatherings. He asked softly, almost gently, "Why is your mother telling everyone you abandoned them? What really happened?" I hesitated only a heartbeat. Then the dam broke. I told him everything. The rent threats, the nanny ultimatum, how they drained me until I had nothing left. And when I explained how they treated my worth as nothing but free labor, his silence on the other end was louder than any outburst. Finally, he said, "I see." Just 3 words, but heavy enough to crush a mountain. The moment we hung up, I knew it was done. Because if my grandfather was on my side, the fragile web of lies my parents had spun was about to shatter. I leaned back in my chair, listening to the distant hum of the city outside my window, and I smiled. They had tried to make me their servant. Instead, I was becoming their reckoning, and the cracks were only starting to show. The fallout came faster than I expected. My grandfather didn't yell. He didn't lecture. He just acted. Within days, my parents' world started to shift beneath them, like sand slipping away from under a house on stilts. First, he called my father. My cousin said the call lasted only about 10 minutes. But when it ended, my father stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. My mother ran after him, shouting his name, but he didn't look back. By the weekend, the whispers had turned into open conversations. Extended family members started messaging me privately. "We had no idea," they said. "Your mom never mentioned you were paying rent. She told us you refused to help." It was like watching a mask peel off her face, layer by layer. My sister, however, didn't hide her fury. She called me at 2 a.m., her voice sharp and broken, the baby crying in the background. "This is all your fault," she screamed. "Mom's stressed. Dad's furious. Grandpa's turned against us because of you. Do you realize how humiliating this is? Everyone's talking about us." I held the phone to my ear, calm. "No," I whispered. "They're talking about the truth." She cursed until her voice broke, then hung up. For the first time in years, I slept without a single worry. But this was only the beginning. My grandfather started steering the family's future. At least, that's what he called it. My cousin said he had already threatened to cut off the financial support he'd been quietly giving my parents, the same support they had hidden from me while insisting I pay rent. Suddenly, those lavish dinners, the bragged about vacations, the endless shopping sprees for my sister, all vanished. They tightened their belts so quickly, it was impossible to miss. My mother showed up at church in a dress she'd worn 2 years earlier. My sister stopped posting photos of baby outfits with the tags "still on." Small gestures, but unmistakably clear. Their empire of control was crumbling. And the best part? I didn't have to do a thing. I only told the truth to the one person they couldn't manipulate. My silence echoed louder than any confrontation could ever have. I was done being their servant. From now on, they would face the consequences of their own greed. The begging started slowly, like drops of water eroding stone. First, it was my mother's texts. "We need to talk. Families shouldn't turn their backs on each other. You don't understand the stress your sister is under. Don't punish her child for our mistakes. Be reasonable. Come home. Help us." Each message carried less anger and more desperation. Then my father got involved. He never apologized, not once in my entire life. But now, his voice cracked through a voicemail. I may have been harsh. Things have been difficult. You know how family is. But we can work this out. Just come back. I played it twice. Not because I was soft, but because I couldn't believe it. The man who once demanded I pay rent just to breathe under his roof now wanted to reconcile. No, my silence was my answer. And silence, I realized, was more powerful than any revenge. It forced them to sit with their choices, echoing louder with every day I didn't respond. By the month's end, my cousin told me my grandfather had cut off every ounce of support he'd been sending them. If you treat your own daughter like a servant, he said, don't expect me to fund your cruelty. That single sentence hit like an earthquake. Without his money, their mortgage payments became unbearable. The rent they once demanded from me was now demanded from them by the bank. My sister's nanny search went nowhere, leaving her home every day, exhausted, posting cryptic complaints online about people abandoning you when you need them most. Meanwhile, I picked up extra shifts, not because I had to, but because for the first time, my earnings were truly mine. No rent to hand over, no guilt trips, no looming threats. I treated myself to small luxuries. A fresh coffee each morning, a pair of shoes I'd been eyeing for months, a ticket to a local concert. Each purchase whispered freedom. My sister called again. This time, there was no yelling, only pleading. Her voice sounded thin, almost empty. Please, she whispered. Just a few weeks. Mom and Dad can't handle this. The baby is sick, and I don't have enough for medicine. If you don't help, I don't know what we'll do. I stared at my phone, feeling the weight of every word. But then memories came flooding back. Nights I returned home after back-to-back shifts, utterly drained, only to find them laughing in the living room, expecting more from me. Suddenly, my decision became clear. I didn't answer. I let the voicemail run, her voice breaking, a baby crying faintly in the background. Then I deleted it. I remembered. I remembered standing in the kitchen while my mother demanded I pay rent. She pocketed my entire paycheck. I remembered my father smirking while I scrubbed dishes after 12-hour shifts, muttering, "You're lucky we even let you stay here." I remembered my sister tossing her hair, scoffing, telling me I was too uptight whenever I asked for help. Now, they expected me to rush in and save them. No, their collapse wasn't my punishment, it was their own reflection. That week, I made my choice loud and clear. I posted pictures online. My small but entirely mine apartment, a graduation photo showing the degree I earned with blood and sweat, captioned, "Every dollar I earn now is mine." Freedom is sweeter when no one holds you hostage. Comments poured in. Friends cheered. Distant relatives showed support. Even my grandfather left a simple, crushing note. "Proud of you, Rachel. Keep moving forward." My mother saw it. Her text came in all caps. "You're trying to humiliate US. How could you do this to your own family?" I didn't respond. I wasn't the one hurting them. They had chosen greed over love, control over compassion, manipulation over honesty. By the end of the month, their world was unraveling. Their house went on the market. My father started late-night warehouse shifts. My sister begged online for donations for her baby's medical bills. Every post was a reminder. This was the life they built, brick by selfish, cruel brick. And me, I wasn't cruel. I didn't mock. I didn't gloat. I simply didn't show up. That silence, my absence, echoed louder than any speech I could have delivered. Deep down, I think they finally realized I was no longer theirs to control. I was gone. With me went their endless supply of free labor, free money, and unconditional loyalty. That was their collapse and my beginning. The final attempt to reach me came publicly. It was a Sunday at the grocery store, my safe little ritual. Headphones in, cart half full, finally breathing easy. Then I felt it, a sharp, unmistakable presence behind me. "Rachel." I froze, hand on a cereal box. I didn't need to turn. My mother's floral perfume hit me before her voice did. Then my father appeared, shadowing the aisle. People stopped and stared. A couple slowed their stroller. My mother forced a thin, tense smile, pretending this was a happy reunion. "We just want to talk," she said, voice sweet but trembling. "You've made your point. Now stop this nonsense and come home, my father added. We can work something out. The words come home struck like a hammer. Not an invitation, an order. The same one they'd used my whole life. I let the silence stretch. Then I spoke, loud enough for everyone in the aisle to hear. Work something out. Like when you stole $60,000 of my future. Like when you expected me to be a free nanny while charging me rent. Or maybe you mean when you called me worthless for saying no. My father's jaw tightened. My mother's eyes flicked to strangers watching. A cashier leaned over, curious, as the humiliation they had hidden behind closed doors was dragged into fluorescent light. You don't understand what family means, my mother hissed. I stepped closer, calm, voice steady. No, Mom, you don't understand. Family doesn't exploit you. Family doesn't drain you dry and call it love. Family doesn't make survival a debt. The aisle went silent, heavier than their shame. They couldn't spin it, not with witnesses. My father looked away. My mother's lips trembled, but no excuse came. For the first time, they were cornered. I pushed my cart forward, brushing past them. This conversation is over. Just like us. I walked out, leaving them exposed, powerless. Later, my cousin texted. Everyone knows what they did. No one's defending them anymore. The collapse was complete. Reputation, pride, control, all shattered. For me, it wasn't revenge. It was clarity. My life was finally mine. Weeks went by, no calls, no texts, just silence. Then came a cream-colored envelope, my mother's handwriting across it. Inside, one line underlined twice. You'll regret cutting us off when we're gone. I read it, folded it neatly, and placed it in a drawer filled not with pain, but reminders of why I chose freedom. Regret was theirs. Mine was something else. That week, my grandfather invited me to dinner. His house smelled of oak and books. He poured iced tea, calm and steady. I heard about the grocery store, he said. I didn't plan it. They showed up, I replied. And you didn't run, he said, studying me. That matters. You're not just surviving anymore, Rachel. You're standing. His words hit harder than I expected. For so long, I'd been running from their control, their greed, their shame. Now, I was building something untouchable. 2 months later, I signed a lease on a new apartment, bigger, brighter mine. Keys jingling, sunlight cutting across the floor. I sat in the empty living room and whispered, "This is what freedom looks like." Online, my sister still begged for donations. My parents' house sat unsold, marked down twice. Their empire of control had become a pit they dug with their own hands. I didn't watch. I didn't need to. Revenge wasn't about them. It was about my rise. They tried to reduce me to unpaid labor, a servant in my own home. Now I am untouchable, self-sufficient, out of reach, forever. The last message I sent them, do not contact. And I meant it. Silence became louder than any revenge. They felt it in empty chairs, on open voicemails, unpaid bills. I felt it in my chest, finally light. In my hands, trembling not with fear but possibility. Closure wasn't a door slamming shut. It was a window opening. And for the first time, I climbed out.